sun's fading. We gotta go. I'll get my car.
What, mine?
Yours. I gotta get me one of those.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bat Dance Discussions. And Merry Christmas! At least if you're in Chicago, you know why I said that, with all the snow that we've gotten today. Seriously, though, happy Halloween. And if you notice, I got my Winnie the Pooh hat on. That's because today, my guest and I are going to be reviewing another Killer Bear movie, Five Nights at Freddy's. And I'm really excited to bring this person on. And yes, Socks, it is. I don't know why Mother Nature is misbehaving like that. Or it could be that Santa's getting back at Jack Skellington for taking over Christmas. So, but please join me as I welcome this person on the show. I love having this guy on the show. He does not hold back when he gives his opinion. It's a real blast to always have him on. I love his show he does with A-Pass on Saturdays. So please join me as I welcome Zodwriter. How are you this Halloween?
Oh man, happy Halloween. Happy Halloween to everybody in the chat. Batdan, thank you so much for having me. I love coming on here whenever I get the opportunity to talk to you about any of these awesome topics. It's always so much fun. It's always a pleasure. So thank you again. And yeah, it is snowing right now. Absolutely. Unbelievable.
So for context, and for who don't know, Socks, Zodwriter, and I are all not rely. I'm trying to think of the word.
We all reside in Chicago.
In the Chicago area. So
Right.
So we're all getting that nice cold weather on Halloween. I feel bad for all those kids trick-or-treating right now.
I haven't had one. Trick or treating is over. I think it's dead. To be honest, I'm wondering has trick or treating pretty much died out in most areas?
We don't know. See, because I
mean,
live
it
in an
has
apartment
over
complex.
here.
I mean, if you live in an apartment complex because where I live, you need a key to get into the building, so I'm not going to get a lot of trick-or-treaters coming in my place. So, I don't know. But it would be very sad. But you know one thing that has not died? Scary movies. And I can't wait to talk to you about this one, Five Nights at Freddy's. But first, I gotta do a little promotion here. So for those of you who don't know, I'm in this movie. Okay, so let me clarify first of all. This is an independent film I am not part of SAG, so there is no strike violation rules me promoting this film. So 2 years ago, I did a filming for a starter person in my area trying to get noticed, and they were calling for extras for the zombie movie, and I thought, hey, sounds fun. So I came in, did did a scene that night, and then 2 months later they called me back to do another scene, and I'm not in this movie very much, but I had a real great time doing it, and it premiered. They actually had it premiered in a movie theater, and now it's on YouTube for free. The link is in the description, and it is pinned in the chat.
It's a fun movie. I'm gonna say it right now. I have watched it. It is a fun movie. I still don't know what zombie you were, Bat Dan. I'm gonna have to watch it again, but I did enjoy the film. So I recommend it to everybody in the chat. And since I wasn't in the movie and I watched it because Bat Dan was promoting it and said he was in it, and I did watch it, and I kept hoping to see a scene where you were just a cameo where you were you, and there wasn't anything.
There was one human scene I had.
Really? Okay, well,
Yeah.
I really need to rewatch the movie then, because
Yeah, I say that I play trombone. I was the guy who played trombone.
oh my god, yeah. Okay.
That was me. And
All
I
right.
had that awkward, I'm not that good with my hands line. I was like, I totally forgot that I said that line, and then it came back, and it's like, oh yeah, I did say that. But so the zombie that I was, and I don't mind giving minor spoilers because I have a bit of an ego and I want people to know it's me. But I was the zombie who snuck up on the guy while he was peeing.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely rewatch it. I'm gonna rewatch the movie because I want to. Now I'll be able to, pick out these parts and be like, "Yep, there's Bat Dan." Because now I'm watching specifically for you.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's one of those things, though. It's like, in some ways, I should be glad you didn't recognize me as the zombie, because that means the makeup was good. But on the other hand, my ego, I'm like, oh, God, I wish I was more recognizable in that movie. But playing a zombie, I'll tell you right now, when I was in the shower that night, when I was the zombie character, I was in the shower for about an hour that night, getting all that makeup off me. So that was...
Well, the zombie makeup in the movie definitely looked pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie, you guys, they did a good job. I mean, you could tell this was a movie where they didn't have any money, but they had heart. You could tell. I mean, they knew what they were doing.
Oh yeah, exactly. And again, it's just kind of three people really just trying to get noticed by people, but they did a really good job with the budget they had. Again, it's in some ways it's like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Not a great budget, but the director was really passionate. You could tell the director was really passionate.
Oh yeah, you could you could sure tell. He had a vision.
So let me just pull up the link to remind you guys that it's pinned in the chat.
I'm surprised you're not playing the trailer every single show you do. I'm surprised you don't have the trailer queued up.
Yeah, I'm not that technical with StreamYard yet.
Because you could really hype the movie if you play your trailer every single, like, as a drop.
Okay, let's try to figure this out right now. We're gonna do that. We're gonna
You'd
play
have to the best way to do it would be to download the actual trailer to your computer, and then have it in your queue so that you can actually play it as like a drop. So like anytime you want to play it, you could just click on it and it'll come up. And you don't have to share your screen. You don't have to do any of that. You just would play it like a drop, and it would come up on the screen and everybody could see it. But you also have to be careful if there's music in it that, if there's music in the trailer that could be copywritten.
No, know if it's copyrightable music or not.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not concerned about the content. I mean, they put it on YouTube for free, so I'm not concerned.
right.
But anyway, the link is in the description. You get to see me in it, and then check it out. I don't have a lot of screen time, but the scenes I'm in, I really enjoy
You know what? I'll
playing.
play the trailer and promote it during the next I Don't Get It. How about that? I'll play it and promote it on the next show that me and A-Pass are gonna do, which will probably be Friday, I think. I think it's gonna be Friday night. So if we end up doing it Friday night, I'll put the trailer on. I'll show the trailer because I can endorse the movie because I have seen it. So
Thank you. And actually, the trailer, I have a blink and you miss a cameo in the trailer too. It's like I'm in a crowd. I made it a game when I was showing my family. I was like, find me in the trailer, and only one person got it.
yeah, we're gonna do that. I'll download the trailer and then I'll run the trailer as a promo during. Yeah, so we'll do that. Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. Love getting this promotion out there. So now, I know you're not all here to see us talk about Are They Dead yet, but
We
let's
should
get
be.
into
We should be talking about that movie.
Hey, we'll get a watch party on my channel at some point. So
Yeah,
that will be because so this movie, there's a lot of mixed reactions about people. So this is a spoiler warning right now. Spoiler warning to anyone who's watching this review. If you don't want spoilers, leave right now. If you've seen the movie or haven't seen the movie but don't care, keep on watching. So just before we kind of get into this movie, I just want to ask you, Zodwriter, how familiar were you with the Five Nights at Freddy franchise before you saw this movie?
Well, I knew it was a video game franchise, and I knew a little bit about it because I'd seen things online and on message boards and things over time, but I really didn't know a whole lot about it. So I kind of went in cold because I don't really know the lore, and I really, didn't care to get into it. I was kind of and so but I did just want to see. I just wanted to see the movie. So I didn't do like you did it to take the time to get familiar with some of the lore and that kind of stuff. I think you did more research than I did. I just went into the movie and enjoyed the movie with my little bit of knowledge that I had of what it was.
So I've never played a single game of this franchise, but even before I heard about this movie. There's this YouTuber I watched called Markiplier. He plays a lot of video game walkthroughs, particularly horror games, and he's played a lot of Five Nights at Freddy's. They call him the king of Five Nights at Freddy's, and in fact, I have a link to his channel in the description of this video. And I've watched so many walkthroughs of him playing the original game, him playing the newest game, Security Breach. I saw him play Five Nights at Freddy's 2, 3, Sister Location, some fan games. So I have a decent amount of knowledge about the lore and the storyline. I could never play the game series myself because I would get scared playing it, but I love watching other people play it. And fun fact, so Markiplier was actually supposed to have a cameo in this movie. You know the scene in the opening with the security guard and he dies?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be Markiplier, but he was working on his own independent project called Iron Lung, so he didn't have time. Basically, for him to make a cameo of this movie, he would have had to compromise on his own project, and he had his priorities straight. This was the project that he was working on. People were depending on him for this, so he regrettably had to turn down the cameo. But I just want to give him a shout out.
They should have offered him. They should have offered him an actual role in the movie instead of a cameo. Because if you're going to put your own project aside, you have to have an incentive to do that. So unless it's going to be something that you're going to actually have a substantial part in, I agree with you completely. I think he did right by sticking true to his material first, and unfortunately having to turn down the cameo. Yeah.
And hey, you know what though? I have a feeling that he's going to have a chance to be in this franchise because regardless, regardless of what you or I or anyone thinks in this about this quality of this movie was a success. It made money. And that's to these studios, that's the only thing that matters. The Star Wars sequels were technically a success, but that has nothing to do with the quality of the movie. So I guess, Zodwriter, were you shocked that this movie did so well in theaters?
No, no, I wasn't. And I'm going to tell you why. The time of year, number one, and you're dealing with killer animatronics. And, people like that. like that. They like that. They like that storyline. They like that stuff. It appeals to people. And people are always looking for the next great horror movie. And I'm not saying that Five Nights at Freddy's is the next great horror movie, but the thing is that if the movie is halfway decent, it will do well. And I'm not surprised that it's doing well. The thing that surprises me is that they decided to make it PG-13 to skate the audience because they want the teenagers who play the game to be able to see the movie. So they made it PG-13 instead of R. And that surprised me. But the fact that it's breaking box office records, it doesn't surprise me at all. I when I saw this movie, I'm like, yeah, it's definitely going to make money.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only reason,
and Sox makes a great point here. He says, plus it also, has a built-in fan base because of the video games. And like I said, they're the ones that this is made for, which is why it's a PG-13 and not an R, because you want to get as many people that are steeped in the lore of the franchise and who love the franchise to go see this movie. And you'd be cutting out part of your audience, a good chunk of your audience, if you made it rated R. So I'm not surprised. But what is surprising about it is the fact that it was available on Peacock day one for you to watch if you had a Peacock account. So you didn't have to go to the theater to watch it. I didn't go to the theater. I watched it on Peacock while you went in the theater, and I believe your quote to me was, I wanted some popcorn.
Yep. That's exact, because I have Peacock too, but I wanted popcorn, and I'm enough of a fan of the game series that I wanted kind of that theatrical experience. And the only thing, you're right, that had working against it for the box office success was it was on Peacock, but I don't think that many people have Peacock compared to Netflix or Disney Plus or Amazon.
You're right. And that's the whole point that I make. There's a reason why, the top tier at Peacock is $5.99 a month. And if you want the top tier at Netflix, it's $19.99. You can always tell the difference between, the big dogs and the people on the block that are trying to build their brand. And Peacock, in my opinion, has a lot of great content. I really like Peacock as a streaming service. They have a lot of good stuff. And I was happy to watch Five Nights at Freddy's on Peacock. I watched it that morning, and you and I were texting about it. And I was thinking, man, this is great. I was had actually been looking forward to it since the first trailer. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I think it did so well, and that's why it's going to get a sequel. I mean, it's definitely going to get a sequel because it did well, and Markiplier can be in that movie, and maybe they should pay him to have a supporting role. I mean, he's not really, I guess, because he's more of a YouTuber than an actor, I'd say, but he does some small projects like Iron Lung. So I don't know. I still think he would have. I don't want to say too much right now because that's gonna be another topic later on, but I'll say this: if he played the lead protagonist, I think it would have been a much better movie. That's all I'm gonna say for now, because I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. But I kind of want to transition to this next topic since you brought it up. Should this have been rated R? I guess for the quality of this movie, do you think it would have worked better as a rated R movie?
When I look at the quality of the animatronics in this movie, and it looked really good, I think it being rated R only would have helped it. I think it being rated R would have did even better than it's doing right now, to tell you the truth. I don't think
Yeah.
rated R is necessarily, the stigma that it once was. I think that we've reached a point in society where if you, if you want to see a good horror movie, you expect it to be rated R, because a lot of these PG-13 horror movies get a bad rep and ultimately end up getting unrated director's cuts somewhere down the line anyway. However, I found it very, very intriguing that the director of Five Nights at Freddy's has gone on record saying that the cut that we saw in theaters is the preferred cut of the movie, and there will not be an R-rated or unrated cut of Five Nights at Freddy's with more gorier kills. So I found that very intriguing that the director came out and spoke on that, especially because we also had, I believe we had a PG-13 version of Megan that came out in theaters when that came out, and then an unrated director's cut came out later, which is gorier and is definitely the more horror centric. But what we get from Five Nights at Freddy's, I really wish it would have been rated R, especially when I compare it to another movie that I saw today that's very similar to Five Nights at Freddy's, called Willy's Wonderland, which stars Nicolas Cage and is an unrated movie, but is very gory and deals with a very similar plot to Five Nights at Freddy's. It's really, they kind of mirror each other in a way, but it's almost like Five Nights at Freddy's, I think, could have benefited from some more gore, especially because of the way that the story kind of lulled a little bit. So, yeah, I don't want to get too far ahead there, but yeah.
I think so too, because again, since I've played, or not, I haven't played, I've actively watched gameplay of this franchise, and the games are a lot darker than this movie was.
Of course, yes.
And I feel like there was a lot that was missing from it. I feel like there are certain things that should have been violent. I put it like this: I'm not necessarily one of those people who think that like F-bombs are needed all the time, but like there are certain times where it just feels unrealistic that you're not hearing more F-bombs. And I think one of them is this movie, because I'm just saying, like, if you see
this movie was one big F-bomb, if you think about it. Like, if you think about the movie in the context with what was what was actually going on, I agree with you 100%. It was one big F-bomb, and it's like why are they? How is this movie so sanitized? Because when you think about it, the plot is kind of deep, and you can kind of take it there. I don't know why they did it, but you're right. You're 100% right. And after seeing Willy's Wonderland today, it really, really lowered my view of this movie. I actually liked Five Nights at Freddy's a lot more before I saw Willy's Wonderland. And now I'm probably right there with Bat Dan, because now I'm more critical. Now I'm like, there's no excuse for this. I mean, what are we talking about here? Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm gonna drop some of my knowledge in this review that like is why I'm so critical of this movie. And I'm just gonna get right to it. Here's the whole point of the main plot of the Five Nights at Freddy's games, like of every game, is that the main character has to avoid being around the animatronics. He cannot let the animatronics get to him. In the first game, he has to close the doors whenever they come near him, working off the very limited power supply. That's why he cannot keep the characters closed all the time. And the character's name of the first game is actually named Mike Schmitz. The name in the movie. So they use the proper name from the movie, but the whole thing is the animatronics, you do not want to be near them. Being near them, even once, is a no-no. The only time this was ever an exception was Security Breach, where there was Fazbear Freddy, who's a good animatronic, and the daycare attendant, who was good when the lights were on. Other than that, though, if you're near an animatronic at all, you're dead. So there is no building forts with the animatronics. And that really bothered me, that they had these goofy moments with the animatronics.
Hence the PG-13 rating. You see, you're getting all this goofy nonsense because they have to compensate for the fact that they can't be as gory and bloody and as deep as they should be. I get exactly what you're saying. There were a lot of those moments where, the child is playing with the animatronics and it was so tame and lame. You could almost, how can I word this? You could almost, it would have almost been safe to leave her with the animatronics for a whole play day, because they were so, it was almost like she was around the Care Bears at that point. I'm just, and to me, you shouldn't have that. These animatronics are stone cold killers. They're evil. They do not, I do not understand it. I'm with you there 100%. But that's what you get as a result of that PG-13 rating.
Exactly. And I want to bring this up because Nightmare Allegory brought this up. This was another issue I had, even when I saw this in the trailer. But the animatronics are not able to just leave the building. Like, that's like another thing, is like, in pretty much all the gameplay I've seen, I don't think I very rarely have seen animatronics being able to just leave the building. Now, maybe someone who knows a little bit more lore than me can correct me on this, because I know there's kids that do go missing, but I feel like it's not the animatronics who cause the kids to go missing. So the animatronics being able to just leave did not sit right with me when he was able to. Yeah, but we'll actually get into Vanessa's character later on, but I mean, even here's the thing though, even in the game, you can't do that even once. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, one time they did it, but in any of the games, you cannot be with them at all, even once. Because here's the premise of the game, is basically that people are not allowed in Five Nights at Freddy's between midnight and 6. And the animatronics don't realize that the security guard is supposed to be there, because what happens is that anyone who's outside, who's in the building past those hours, gets stuffed into an animatronic suit, and with all the wiring, it kills you. Which they kind of did that, sort of, in the movie. So there is no, well, if we keep them calm for a little bit, it's fine. No.
Right. We're not dealing with domesticated animals here, where they're a little bit rowdy and you can just calm them down. You're dealing with stone cold killers that don't care. That's not what it's about. They want to kill. They want to be fed. They want to eat. It's not about that. So yeah, that whole part, you could literally take that whole scene with the little girl building the fort with the animals, and you could take that and you could literally make a Sesame Street children's special out of it, because it was so sanitized.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the other thing too. We had a really good jump scare scene, a really good scene where I'm gonna call this character Aunt Bitch, where her Aunt Bitch's goons were raiding Five Nights at Freddy's during the daytime, and the animatronics attacked. When they were raiding it during the daytime, the animatronics absolutely, under no circumstances, are threatening during broad daylight. Not even if you're in the building. No, they are only a threat at midnight to 6. That is key here. So to see one of the best scenes in the movie take place during the day really did not work for me.
That's an example of the movie taking liberties that were not necessary but we're once again padding the fact that this is a watered down PG-13 uh shell of what the story is actually supposed to be, because what you're describing actually sounds like a great movie, Bat Dad. It's unfortunate that we didn't get that.
And towards the end, I'm going to kind of say what the plot of the movie should have been. And so I'm going to kind of steal a quote from YouTuber Jeremy Johns. Is that I watched his review, and he made a really good point. A movie should never be concerned about its rating. The movie should just be what the movie is, and whatever rating comes from it is what the rating is. So they shouldn't go for an R rating. They shouldn't go for a PG-13 rating. They should just go what the movie needs to be, and whatever the rating is, it is. That's
That's right.
so actually, I'm going to add a little topic towards the end. This always happens when I do these videos, is that as we do the conversations, I'm like, ooh, this should be a topic. This should be a topic. And I mean, there were some elements of this movie I did like. There were plenty of elements in the movie that did work for me. I think there is some great stuff in it. And honestly, for a sequel, I'm open to a sequel if they do it. Because do you know the other best scene with the animatronics was the opening scene, the one that Markiplier was supposed to be in, what wasn't. That was the truest the animatronics actually were. Was the security guard was trying to get out of there because you cannot be near them at all. There is no I'm with them once. No. The animatronics took him, they put him in the suits. That was the bet, and it was during the nighttime. That was probably the best scene with probably the best scene in the movie, honestly, was the opening act in the first few minutes, because that's how the animatronics were supposed to be portrayed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's clear that they were going for a rating here, though. But getting back to your point, it's clear they were going for a PG-13 with this, especially when reading the director's comments, they wanted PG-13. So,
And again, which it hurt the quality of the movie. And they do take a lot of lore from the movie. They take a lot of or lore from the games, but they make some changes too. So Vanessa is actually a character from Security Breach. She's probably the one human guard who is allowed to be near the animatronics. But she wasn't the protagonist, so that I was fine with that. She was actually one of the bad guys in the game. She wasn't necessarily a complete bad guy. There were theories that she might have not been all bad, but the main character, little kid Gregory, could not be near Vanessa at all. He had to hide from Vanessa just as much as he did the other animatronics. So it was kind of weird seeing Vanessa being mostly a good guy character. What'd you think of this character?
I thought that her character was better than the main character. I was happy every time she was on screen because the main character was so damn boring. The main character was putting me to sleep with his stupidity, with his, not only that, his constant falling asleep himself. I'm like, is this a Nightmare on Elm Street movie or is this Five Nights at Freddy's? I don't know. All I know is that Vanessa kept me in the movie, kept me interested because her character was interesting. I mean, she was an attractive character and she had an attractive personality as well. The character was very well done. I think she was one of the best characters in the movie, if I'm being honest. Especially when you put her with the main character that we got, the brother trying to protect his little sister. I mean, he was just a clod. I kept waiting for him to die.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have a whole section to rant on this character. But yeah. I mean, putting aside the changes from the movie, I mean, she is actually Afton's daughter. I think I don't know if that was theorized or if that was actually confirmed canon in the games, but that wasn't completely made up. And I did like her character though. I like that she took charge. She wants to look out for all the guards because she knows the dangers of being a security guard at that place. She knows the dangers for kids, and she was a very authoritative character. My God, I can't pronounce these words today. I'm very bad at it, but she took charge when she needed to. She appeared at the end when she needed to. It's like, oh, I can't show up, and then here she does. She shows up, and honestly, I mean, I agree with you, Zodwriter. I would probably watch a whole movie about her, or even if they did like a prequel with her as a kid, that would probably be a more entertaining movie than this.
Well, especially when I felt like they fleshed out her character a lot more. Like you cared about her character because her character was given a lot of different layers in the movie, which surprised me because like I said, they didn't do that with the main character. You know, the main character was all over the place, but with Vanessa, you get this. There was a certain consistency to her. There was a nuance to her that was really good throughout the film. And I'm like you, I was thankful she was there and would gladly watch a prequel revolving around her character.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope that, I mean, it's a rule. If you don't see them actually die, she's going to be in the next movie. Let's be honest here. They didn't kill her
Well, yeah,
off
they
for a
didn't kill
reason.
her off for a reason. They see, and this is the thing. But she's not. I didn't see her as a villain in this movie at all.
Oh, she's not.
I
at
get
all.
that. I get that in the actual lore, the actual video games, her character is a villain or like sort of a villain, but here she's not. And I like the character that they turned her into. I was hoping that maybe they would have killed off the brother at the end of the movie and had her take care of the sister at the end. I kind of was hoping that it would, that she would kind of carry it on. Plus, she's in that position where she's a police officer in the film, and she has these responsibilities, and she's kind of a, so I don't know. I just kept waiting for the main character to die. I don't know what to tell you. I was so annoyed by that character, Batman.
Oh my God.
From the beginning, it was just. I mean, okay. Well, I'll hold off on that because I think you and I are going to be in agreement about the first thing we read about with this guy. But yeah, Vanessa. I think for me, best character in the movie who wasn't an animatronic, for sure.
Yeah. And also, too, I'll say this right now in case anyone's curious. My favorite animatronic from the games, Foxy. He's the best one. He has personality, and he's the smartest of all the animatronics. In Five Nights at Freddy's 2, he's the only one who doesn't fall for the night guard's disguise. Because in the second game, it's not doors. He has to wear a fake Freddy mask to make people think he's an animatronic. That fools even the real Freddy, but it doesn't fool Foxy. So.
Wow.
So now I want to kind of go into this, as I call her Aunt Bitch. That whole subplot. That was the biggest waste of time in the entire film.
Yeah.
Like, okay, first of all, the motivation does not make sense. Okay, like getting custody of a kid, you pay a lot more in expenses to take care of the kid than you do getting checks from the government for taking in a foster kid. The whole point of it is to help you out a little bit, but unless you're going to feed her breadcrumbs and not buy her clothes and not take her to a doctor, there is no financial incentive for her to take Abby in. If they wanted to go with that subplot, because I think at some point they implied that they're half brother and sister. If they made Abby, because I think at one point, because he said to Abby, "Your mother," is what Mike said to her at some point. So I think they're half brother and sister. What they could have done is have her be Abby's aunt and like have Abby on that side of the family inherit money. If they wanted her to ask for custody so bad, like something that she doesn't get it till she's 18, so that's why Mike has to work, but because she's going to be 18, eventually Aunt Bitch wants custody of her. That would have made a lot more sense if they really wanted to give her a motivation to want Abby.
Yeah, I was really, really thrown off by that whole subplot too. It didn't make any sense. And then, adding into it the idea of, her goons and all that too, you know, that was just a completely throwaway, nonsensical part of the movie. And if you ask me, that's one of the things that completely tanks the movie, because you cannot hold you know your belief in the movie. You got to be able to suspend disbelief when you're watching these movies. And that whole subplot was ridiculous. I still, to this day, don't know what her motive was, what her reason was, why she had such a vendetta against Mike, why she wanted to take Abby away so badly. It didn't make any sense. It wasn't really pointed out. There wasn't really a whole lot of, you know, and it's like there was nothing about the Mike character that was interesting. There was nothing that was in correlation with that. I mean, he's just a guy trying to take care of his sister. There was nothing about him that you could say from the aunt's perspective where you could say, oh, he's a criminal. We got to get him out. And like, even when her goons was like, well, maybe we could get him locked up, or maybe we could kill him, or whatever. They were coming up with all these different ways to get rid of him. And it was like, why are you trying to get rid of him? What is your motivation? It was just an excuse, a lame plot device to get the goons into the restaurant. That's all it was. It was like, if you really think about it, to get the goons in the restaurant in the middle of the day. That's why they concocted this goofy subplot that made no sense and is just head scratchingly bad. Terrible.
What's funny? Though you don't see the ants again after the goons get killed until she has to babysit Abby. That's
Yeah,
the only time
because the babysitter was in on the whole scam. You remember the babysitter was in on the scam, and then the babysitter stopped showing up, and it's like the babysitter was with the goons when they went into the restaurant.
Because her brother was the head goon.
I just, you know what? I was, at that point, I was like, my God, they need to just kill off all these characters, because they're all just when you have a very well-developed character like Vanessa, a well-developed character, a character with actual depth that you actually care about and are interested in terms of the film. And then you look at all the subplot and all these dumb characters that they throw in there. It's like, I just want the animatronics to like wipe them all out, because there's nothing good about any of them. It was so bad. I think they should have been embarrassed by how badly written and how badly executed that whole subplot was.
Yeah, here's the reason they need to leave that in the movie, honestly. Well, one, for, as you said, to get the goons in the restaurant during the day, which again should not have actually been a real threat. But the other big thing, the movie was short. If you cut that part out of the movie, you lose a huge chunk of the movie.
No, but if you cut it out, you have to replace it with something else. And again, I wonder if this movie would have been R-rated, if that would have been in there, because they probably would have spent more time with kills and gore. It would have been a lot more. It would have been a lot more Winnie the Pooh and a lot less I Know What You Did Last Summer. You know what I mean? There would have been more. There would have been more to focus on. There would have been more of a plot around the kills and the gore and the animatronics. We probably would have got a lot more with them than what we did because of this PG-13. So now you have this nonsensical subplot that makes no sense, complete with them sitting down with like bacon and pancakes and orange juice, and it's just like This whole breakfast scene is unnecessary. I was really irritated. There were several moments, during that whole subplot that I was tempted to go do something else.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, here's the thing too. Her having that lawyer, I was gonna say this. The lawyer itself costs more money than she would be getting in those foster checks from the government. The lawyer himself costs more money than that.
The lawyer didn't even know why he was there. The actor had no clue. The actor was like, am I done filming yet? Like, I literally was breaking the fourth wall every time he was on screen because he was so bored. He didn't want to be there. He clearly had other things on his mind. He was probably only in the movie because he needed the money, because he's been doing like tax evasion, so he needs the money to pay back all these back taxes. He can't, this movie, you could tell like the actor was just clueless. He was like, oh, and there were a couple of times where like when she kind of had to like snap him out of like the stupor he was in. I actually felt during those scenes, Dan, I was like, is he acting here, or is he really that damn bored that he really is zoning out? Like he tuned out, and he just, I mean, is my scene done yet? Can I leave the set now? That was the vibe I was getting every single time he was on screen. Another waste.
I don't want to toot my own horn because I tried not to do that publicly, but I'm going to do it anywhere here. My acting as the zombie who was snuck up on the guy while he was peeing at around the 29-minute mark, I'm going to be very specific about where I am. My acting was much better in that scene. And now, granted, I think I even said it myself. I had a better, easier time playing a zombie character than a human character, but here's the thing, I wasn't even getting paid to do what I did. I did not get paid a single cent for this movie. I did this for fun, and I put more effort in to the acting.
Yeah.
For free.
Yeah, there was no effort being made here. And the problem was, it was clear that there was no effort. It was very much, it was telegraphed. Like you could, like, it was like I was reading his mind. It was like, is my scene done? Can I leave the set now? You think I can get some of those leftover pancakes from the kitchen breakfast scene? The guy, I don't know. I don't know why he was in that movie. I don't know who he knows that he got that. That was probably the cameo, the YouTube guy that you like was supposed to have.
He was the security guard, is what I read.
Oh, he was going to be the security guard. Yeah, okay.
Which that would have been much more useful for his talents, honestly, because when he does his freakouts when he's about to die, it's really good. It's really good, and that would have been such a great role for him, honestly. He probably would have been more enjoyable seeing him as the lawyer, though, too, compared to
the lawyer. The guy they got was completely out of his gourd. I don't know what was going on there.
And here's the thing: no matter how bored you are, though, a good actor is not going to let it show. Here's an example: Alec Guinness did not like Star Wars. The guy who played Obi-Wan,
he was bored.
But you know what? He didn't let it show, though. He gave a good performance. He gave it his all, even though he was not happy being in that movie. Or, I mean, I've heard rumors about it are somewhat exaggerated. I don't know completely, but he's not like a big fan of Star Wars. We'll put it like that. But he did a good job. He did a good performance. And if you're a good actor, even if you are bored, even if it is for a paycheck, even if you don't want to be there,
I'll give you an example of a great performance from an actor. Again, Willy's Wonderland, Nicolas Cage didn't say an entire word throughout the film, okay? And he had I think one of the best performances of his career. It was fantastic. And he didn't speak the entire time. He literally had no lines. And then you have this guy who was checked out and was thinking about breakfast. So I don't know. And again, the aunt as a character, she sucked too. Like, I don't know. Like, number one, she definitely wasn't likable. So that worked because she was a completely unlikable character. But I mean, I didn't think she was necessary either. And I still don't know. Is she dead? Did she die? Because I seen her laying on the carpet.
There's blood.
There was some blood there, but again, it wasn't 100% clear. Like, it didn't like they didn't linger on it. They didn't really address it. And you know what's funny? She was never mentioned. She wasn't mentioned after that happened. It was as if she was never in the movie.
See, that's why I think she's dead, though, because even though I know that whole rule, if you don't see the body, they're dead, that's if they're an important character. She's not important enough for me to worry about if they officially confirmed she was dead. For me,
well, I mean, they made a big deal out of it and made it, the whole custody thing. Like, they really tried and went out of their way to make her important. But like I said, I think she was just a plot device to get the goons into the restaurant. But I also, but she did kind of wreak havoc on Mike and Abby a little bit. So she did kind of have a role there. So I'm just surprised by the fact that she's like, she was never mentioned again after that. You see her laying on the ground, you see some blood there, you see her laying on the carpet, but you don't but she never gets mentioned. Not once after that happens. And that kind of surprised me because of who she was in the movie. You would think that there would be some, but maybe not. I mean, she was hated, so she could die too.
She's a dead. I mean, it's a dead body in the main character's house for a guy who's fighting for. I mean, now granted, the person who's fighting against custody for is dead. But if any people are, if you're not like the parents, you're gonna be investigated, even if you're doing a good job, because they just need to verify that you're doing a good job. So he has a dead body in his house. I mean, now maybe I guess to be. Well, no, I was going to say Vanessa maybe helped him out, but Vanessa's in a coma, so Vanessa couldn't help him out. So did Mike drag her out of there? Did Mike chop up her body and throw her in the trash in different parts of the dumpster to hide her dead body?
So yeah, that's the other thing that doesn't make any sense. What I'm saying is it's a big plot hole because it's the middle of his apartment, isn't it? Wasn't it at his apartment where she was allegedly babysitting?
Yeah, his place, his home. Like, if I had someone die in my apartment, that would not be some detail I don't even mention. I would be panicking.
Right. It's like it didn't even happen. The way that it was handled in the movie, it was like that. Like, that didn't happen. Okay. So I don't. Maybe the animatronic dragged it out of dragged her body out of the house.
No, Mike. I was gonna say maybe I thought Mike saw the ant once, took a look, but maybe not even that. I think what happened is Abby saw the dead body, and the animatronic just kind of was like, "Oh, she's sleeping" or something like that.
Yeah. She's sleeping. Yeah, but that was it though. There was no more mention. It was like it just, like you said, like that didn't happen. It didn't happen in the movie.
And here's the thing: they could have just as easily had Mike take her over to the aunt's house, and there she died. There, I could kind of buy that a little bit. I'd be like, okay, they didn't really like her. It's her house, so they don't need to. I mean, they could have figured that out. And Sox, I do want to kind of address this somewhat. It's not quite that. I know what you're talking about. To be fair, though, the kid told Alec Guinness that he watched Star Wars 100 times. He watched it a lot of times, and I think Alec Guinness was concerned that he was watching it too much. So I think he said, so it wasn't quite that as bad as that, but still, Alec Guinness, great actor, showed a lot of work, even though he did not want to be in the movie. And speaking of subplots, okay, so there is a bit of a lore subplot with the missing children. That is an actual thing of the ghost of the children possessing the animatronics. But it's not like this major focus in the lore. That's like a possible Easter egg, a possible thing people suspect, but that's not like a definitive thing about the animatronics, is that they're possessed by children. That's not a focus, basically. If it's a bigger than I said, someone correct me in the comment section, but it's not an important focus. So I know why they talk about the missing children, but this was another subplot that to me did not need to be in the movie, was Mike's missing brother. I could have done without that subplot too.
The reason, and I keep going back to this, but I think the reason they needed that whole stupid subplot was because they didn't have enough material, because it was a PG-13 movie and they needed stuff to pad it out. And you also have to be able to explain why Mike beats the hell out of that guy at the mall. You have to be able to explain that. Because that, by far, was probably the most violent scene in the movie, to be honest with you. And it made no sense. And I felt so bad for the guy, because I knew the moment I saw it, I'm like, that's the dude's dad. He's yelling at the kid because the kid probably wandered off somewhere, or and he was trying to, talk to him and say, hey, you don't wander off. You get lost. Something could happen. And you have wired wrong Mike going and literally beating the hell out of this guy. And it's like, listen, man, you are an idiot. Anybody could tell watching that scene that was the kid's father. Like, you didn't even need to, especially when he got up close to him, when Mike got up real close and was like, and the father's like looking like just dumbfounded, like he doesn't know what the hell this guy is in front of him for. I was like, what? But they needed that to explain the psychological trauma that Mike had in order to facilitate this goofy missing children subplot that goes on throughout the whole bulk of the movie. And it really, to me, I feel like the guy just needed some sleep. The guy just needed to be knocked out for, I don't know, for like a week. They needed to put him in a coma for a week, and then wake him up, and then maybe he can start living again, because I don't know what this guy's problem was. This guy was knocking out so much. I swear I thought, I was like, is this trying to emulate Nightmare on Elm Street? Are we gonna see Freddy Krueger at some point? I know it's called Five Nights at Freddy's. Maybe there's a double meaning. I was thinking all these weird things because the subplot didn't make sense. And then the creepy children. I just, I don't know, Bat Dan. The more, we talk about this and the more we delve into it, this movie really didn't make a lot of sense, did it? It really didn't. It was really all over the place. Like, what are we watching?
And again, I don't mind that they incorporated the missing children in this movie, but it shouldn't have been the main focus of the movie that it was. I have a bit of a rewrite that I'm going to kind of give this movie at the end that I think would have worked better. Incorporate the elements of the game.
An AI rewrite?
Oh, no, my own rewrite.
Okay. I was going to say, you told AI to rewrite Five Nights at Freddy's. Because they obviously just used the first draft of the script when they did this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm sure AI would have done a better job. I don't want to totally say that because we just got the writers done with their strike, but I don't know. Just, I
Yeah,
mean, here's the thing.
this was definitely bad writing. Definitely.
And it made Mike, it just, the issue is that it made, and again, maybe this is kind of somewhat my issue with Mike, is that it distracted Mike too much from what the movie really should have been about. And it didn't really, all Mike's missing brother did was add another unnecessary subplot. It made Mike a more annoying character, and it took away from what I wanted to see in this movie. What I wanted to actually.
Which is why you got to watch Willy's Wonderland, because that is what this movie could have been if you take out the stupid, missing children subplot and the Mike's got issues, but psychological trauma because of his brother and all this crazy stuff, and he's trying to figure out who took his brother, and it's like a Hardy Boys mystery again. It's a PG-13 Hardy Boys mystery, and the guy's got anger problems. And like I said, it's he literally beat the guy within an inch of his life. I mean, I would tell you, that was brutal. That was more scary than all of the animatronic scenes combined in this movie. Like because he didn't just punch him like one or two times. He kept punching him. He was wailing away at the guy. And I'm like, dude, you're going to kill that man. And the boy is watching in horror as his father is literally being killed in the middle of the mall because of some psycho with missing brother issues. This is ridiculous. That dude should have went to jail. Mike should have been out of the movie within the first 15 minutes after that, because he should have been locked up. And then the movie should have been, and then a better way to do it would have been to have her go live with the aunt for whatever reason, have Abby go live with it. And then you could bring Vanessa into it somehow. But Mike would have been out of the movie if this was real life. I mean, come on. That dude would have been locked up.
They could just had him punch the guy one time, and I could have maybe believed, okay, he just got fired because it was a misunderstanding. But here's the thing. Even if let's just say Mike was right. Let's just pretend for a moment Mike was right. The guy really was kidnapping the child. He punched him a lot once he was down. And I mean, here's the thing. As much as we want to do that stuff, you cannot punch a person over and over again once they are down. Once they're down, they're down. You punch them, you handcuff them, and then you let the authorities take it from there. So they just showed right there how unhinged Mike was. And when we talk about Mike Schmidt, I can't wait to tell you how his character is in the game, because you won't. Let's just say, I won't give that too much away, how much he is in the game, but yeah, the missing brother didn't contribute a lot. I don't mind the missing kids, but it should have been kind of something they kind of mentioned. It shouldn't have been the focus that it was in the movie. Like, seeing the children instead of the animatronics at certain points, no. That, like, they are Fazbear Freddy, or no, not Fazbear, that's the new one. They are Freddy, Chica, Foxy, and Bonnie. Those are their names. They're not the children, whatever. That's like a possible theory. That's not definitive.
Yeah, Mike did more damage to that one child when he beat his father to a bloody pulp. Yes, Sid Havoc. He did more damage than what Mike had dealing with his brother who got taken. That, you don't think that kid's going to be scarred for life?
Yeah, I'm sure that kid is.
Mike is a monster at this point.
He would for sure lost custody of his sister. Like,
after that, yeah. If he deserved to lose custody, he deserved to lose it then. Yes, 100%. Give me a break. The aunt wouldn't have had to go through all that trouble to get rid of Mike. Mike did it to himself when he beat that guy within an inch of his life.
Yeah. And again, in that scene, all they had to do was maybe have Mike tackle him or something. Maybe one punch.
Right. The point
And
would
I
have been made. The point would have been made. They overdid it.
yeah.
And to me, by overdoing that, you've now completely tarnished the character before we've even gotten a chance to know what the character was all about. Because once
Yeah.
he does something like that, you're no longer sitting here thinking, oh, yeah, this is a character we should be rooting for. We want him to stay with his sister. What happens when he gets really mad at his sister and he beats the crap out of her? Are we supposed to feel sorry for him then? Oh, it was her fault?
Oh, I definitely have some issues with how he was towards his sister at certain points, believe me. But overall, this subplot didn't contribute anything. All it did was add unnecessary filler. Now, before we get to his sister, what do you think about Afton, the main bad guy, the guy in the bunny suit, Vanessa's father?
I didn't really think much of him. I mean, we get the reveal, that he was the guy at the beginning, that Mike went to for a job. He was like a counselor, like a job counselor or something. Is that what he was?
Oh
Was
wait,
he a job?
that was the same guy? I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. He was the
Well, he
same
was
guy. He set Mike up to go to Freddy's because he's the
I guess
big,
the glasses disguise does work
he was the
sometimes.
big bad. Yeah, that was yeah.
Oh shit. Didn't realize that. But I'll say this. I mean, so because again, since I'm more of a fan of the storyline, I guess I was more excited to kind of see that character. And I didn't put it like this. I didn't have an issue with Afton. I still think he was one of the better parts of this movie, but also because I think the scene he was in was one of the better scenes in this movie. But I, I don't know. He wasn't overly special to me. He wasn't like, because I was a fan of the franchise, it was cool to see him, but again, he was just kind of thrown in there at the end and defeated pretty easily.
Yeah, there wasn't really a very strong through line between his character at the beginning of the film and then the big reveal at the end, as evidenced by the fact that you didn't even know that they were the same character.
Yeah.
So that tells you all you need to know about how good of a job they did setting that up. It sucks. I mean, when I think about it, I'm like, you know what? The problem is, as we are breaking this down piece by piece, it's amazing how bad it is when you break it down like this. It's really unbelievable. Like, wow. We're gonna walk away from this movie thinking, my God, what the hell did we watch? This is really not good. The writing was atrocious, and these characters, when you break them down individually, are paper thin with no real reason to be invested in them under any circumstances, except of course Vanessa, who we already talked about, which ultimately, her connection, that being her father, right? He was her father, and that was not fascinating in any way to me, and it didn't surprise me either because of the way she was acting, how she was always so guarded with that. So yeah, I don't know. Nothing much to say about Afton, honestly.
See, I think here's the thing, though. This is what I think, and this is, I think, an overall problem with the movie is that they banked on the fans being excited to see the character, that they didn't really think about the general audience so much. Like, see, I'm an in-betweenie. Like, I'm not quite like a big fan, but I'm not quite a general audience member either. So I guess I would have liked to have seen more, like, do a little more with him, or maybe just don't even show him at all. They honestly could have saved him for a future movie. Because here's and we'll kind of get into this to the overall pacing, but let's just say there's a lot of stuff, like, since, I mean, again, we're going to get a sequel. It doesn't matter what we thought about it. It made money. That's enough for Universal to greenlight 3 more movies at least. And let's just say that they could have maybe spread certain plot points out to other movies to help out. And I think Afton, he's not someone, he's not a first movie character. He's someone that we should have been building up to a lot more and had a really good payoff. So, yeah, overall, Afton, again, I like the idea of what they were trying to do, but I mean, here's the thing, Zodwriter. Of all the walkthroughs I've seen, I don't think I've ever actually seen Afton. Like, I've never seen him. I've heard him talk about him plenty of times, but I've never actually seen him.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go.
So, they honestly could have just not shown him, honestly, and would have been fine. But they needed that main antagonist. They needed the guy to bring the animatronics back from suspended animation or from being unconscious. Yeah, the movie had a $20 million budget. But here's the thing. I'll put it like this. As many issues as I had with the movies, the budget was not one of them. The animatronics design was really good.
From Jim Henson, Creature Creations.
Yeah. It was a good... So, the budget... Here's the thing. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey had a lower budget and was a much better movie.
Absolutely.
So, like, my issue with the
absolutely.
movie is
At least in Blood and Honey, we got to see a lot of great kills.
yeah, and we actually saw Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh was the guy who was the advertised threat of the movie. Was the threat of the movie.
And Winnie the Pooh was so scary. Oh my God. I would not want to be anywhere near Winnie the Pooh.
I mean, this version, sure. But, yeah, that was the name of the production company that did the film. Blumhouse Productions.
Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah, Blumhouse has done a lot of stuff. They just did.
They're
the ones they just did the Halloweens. They just did the most recent Halloweens.
Oh, I haven't seen the most recent one.
Yeah.
I just know Evil Dies Tonight. So, I mean, here's the thing. Afton, like, our topic on Afton should be a lot longer. But it's not, because there's nothing about him. He's just that. And I mean, I like the scene he was in, and we'll talk about that later on, but... Now, hold on. Is this... Okay, there we are. Abby. I'll say this with Abby right now. With her and Mike's relationship, I like the idea of what they were going for. An older brother who's fighting for custody of his sister. On paper, that's really great. And actually, I mean, because look, this was never in the games, but this was a subplot that, if executed, this was one I could have rocked with. Like, so the way the trailer advertised is, I mean, I didn't know it was his sister, but the idea is he had to take care of a kid. He has to work at Five Nights at Freddy's to make money, and he's going to bring his daughter to sleep in the office while he works. That's actually that would have been a really intriguing idea right there if that was the focus of the entire movie. So, but it's the problem I have with this movie is that Mike is fighting for his sister, fighting to have custody of his sister, but he doesn't even hesitate to put her in danger. He literally leaves her alone willingly with the animatronics.
Right.
And I like this. Like, so Abby herself, I actually like in this movie.
Right. She's a very likable character and is a very good actress, a very good child actress at that. I mean, she did a great job. She definitely was into the role. She was definitely having a good time. And you could tell that she was into it more than her older brother. That's for sure. Sleepy Mike. But yeah, I didn't have any problems with Abby. I just didn't like the way Mike was so reckless with Abby, as you already pointed out.
Yeah, exactly. And and even still, the whole what the animatronics wanted with her, again, I don't think they're quite like that again. They don't go out of their way to take a kid. Like, again, it's so I mean, here's the thing, they could just had her be in danger by having her wander out of the office when she wasn't supposed to, and Mike has to go find her. If they wanted to do that with Abby, they could have just done that. They didn't need to have and even again, and here's the thing, I wouldn't even mind if the fight for custody battle with Abby was just that he needs a job. Like, here's an example of a story that did this right. And it's a completely different movie, a completely different genre, but the concept of the older sibling trying to adopt the younger sibling, Lilo and Stitch, Nani trying to adopt Lilo. She didn't have to fight their aunt for custody of Lilo. All she had, the only issue was money, and that was more than enough for it to be a struggle. And that's all they needed in this movie was to have Mike needing to get money to work a crappy job just so that the the foster agency, child services, the social worker, whatever is okay. Like, yes, you are fit to take care of your sister, so we don't have to put her in a foster home. That's all they needed to do. And again, I hate saying that like this completely different movie that's not at all the same movie at all, except for this one plot thread. And I always thought Abby and Lilo were kind of similar, actually, with like they have some sort of mental disorder, but it's not quite clear. It's not like like a huge one. They can mostly function like normal, but there's still a little something there where you can tell they don't quite get what's going on. But they did that plot of the movie much better than this movie did.
That's a great example. It really is. I mean, you laid it all out so 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 clearly that it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue with that. It's. I mean, wow. I'm you know. Um, but yeah, I mean, I did like her as a character. I did think that she was, and I'm glad she survived the movie. I didn't think they were gonna kill her off because, as you said, they're definitely gonna do at least two more sequels. So you know you gotta have some people left. Um, so
Yeah. It's just my issue with Abby isn't even the Abby character herself. It's the it's how they wrote the situation around her. That's
right,
my biggest criticism with the character, not the character herself. Like, I don't mind the kid being stupid, thinking it's okay to play with the animatronics. I understand
right.
a kid
Right, you
thinking
get
that.
she's gonna, and then that whole scene where she makes friends with them like like they're ETs, and she's, I mean, that whole scene to me was just like what I was saying about like it's the Care Bears, like they might as well be the Care Bears because she was so happy being around them, and they were, that to me was just, that was mind blowing that they had that scene in the movie, especially with what they were trying to do. Like, I was like, that where is this coming from? What are we doing to this little girl? How are we going to scar her for the rest of her life now? It's ridiculous.
She wants to see them even still. She still wants to see the animatronics at the end of the movie, which didn't quite.
Not, yeah, that's what I mean. It kind of threw me off at the end. Like you would think throughout all that she wouldn't want to be anywhere near them. Period.
Yeah, they're gonna put her in a freaking suit. There and again, and since I know the games, the whole point is those suits because of all the metal in it. If you're stuffed in one of those things, you're dead. There is no you're alive. Like there is no like you're not. It's not uncomfortable. You're gonna get electrocuted and you're going to get killed. So they were trying to kill her, basically. No, no, not basically. That's what they were trying to do. I guess that's the. But again, her being a kid and being, stupid. I mean, makes sense. And here's so the Care Bears scene that you said. I don't necessarily have an issue with that completely. I have an issue with Mike and Vanessa being okay with it. But like, let's say Abby thought they were her friends when they weren't. Like, if she thought of them as the Care Bears, but they executed in a way that the audience knows that she's in danger, that would have actually been very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I was hoping for. Instead, you just have Mike griping about everything. But Mike is there, and I don't. I mean, it's just bad writing that you have to chalk it up to. In all of these cases, this is horrible writing.
Yeah, horrible, awful writing. And the worst character, the worst sinner of this all is Mike Schmidt. So I
Oh
want to tell you
God.
about his character in the first game. So the only reason you know his name is Mike Schmidt is at the end, when you win, there's a check that has his name on it. So Five Nights at Freddy's, it's a first-person game. So you're looking at the camera. You're playing as Mike, first person. Do you know how many lines Mike has in the game?
How many? Oh,
You don't see him.
so like
You don't
Nicolas
know he
Cage in Willy's Wonderland. No
ex-
lines.
Except the only difference is Nicolas Cage, you actually see his character. The whole point with Mike, you're playing from his perspective. So you don't see, he doesn't talk, he doesn't move. You're just looking at him, pressing buttons. You're looking like you're in the game, pressing the doors, looking at the cameras, but you don't see his reflection. He doesn't say a line. He doesn't write anything. The only reason you know his name is because when you win, his name is on a check. There's nothing about his character, no personality, which in the game it works because it adds a little mystery to the character, which I knew they couldn't do that. But the issue with Mike is, as you said, he's an idiot. Sleeping on the job. Here's the big sin with that. If Mike did that in the game, he would have been dead within an hour, because what would have happened is, because he left the door open, the animatronics would have come in and they would have stuffed him in a suit like that. There is no way on earth he would be able to just sleep through the night and live. That absolutely would not happen.
Nope. And the negligence with his sister, where he brings his baby sister to the restaurant, and then this proceeds to fall asleep. Not only that, he's literally wearing headphones, listening to nature sounds to help him fall asleep, because he keeps trying to go back to this same dream over and over again about the missing brother. And then you got the creepy children, and it's just kind of like, this guy needs to be committed to a mental hospital for no less than 90 days. No less than 90 days. And they need to evaluate him after those 90 days to determine whether or not he needs to continue to stay or he can be released. But he's not mentally all there at all. He definitely needs help. He shouldn't be working at Freddy's. He shouldn't have custody of Abby. And he definitely shouldn't that none of that movie shouldn't have happened with his character. What's up, Brogu? He is he's horrible. Like she is in danger. His sister is in danger all the time just being around him. And I realized that he didn't really have no choice, because his babysitter, he didn't have a babysitter, so he had to bring her along. But still,
Here's the thing about bringing his sister. I didn't have an issue with him bringing his sister necessarily, because he didn't know
he
there
had
was
to
any
stay
danger.
away. He had to stay awake.
That was the issue. That's my problem. Is that it's one thing to sleep on the job, but to sleep on the job when you're in a strange place, taking care of and I'm saying your kid because that's what she is. He is the adult, she is the kid he has custody of. And for him to just fall asleep while he's supposed to be watching his sister, no, no, that that is the problem with. And then here's the thing, and then for him to just try to use his sister to find his brother when he is like he knows there are ghost children around animatronics. I would never, ever in a million years, if I found a missing relative, the one thing I would not do is put another missing relative in danger. Here's an example I want to use. I have two cousins who are age-wise, they're more like my nieces. If one of them was missing, I would do anything to find her except one thing, putting the other cousin in danger. I absolutely wouldn't even dream of doing that. So for Mike to put his sister, let him go with the animatronics alone at certain points, mind you, not even supervising it. I mean, what could you honestly do? I mean, if the animatronics wanted to, they could have just pushed Mike aside and taken her. But still, like he risked her life, stupidly risked her life to find on the chance that maybe he'll find his brother. No, no. It had a protagonist problem. Like Captain Marvel, like Shazam, like WandaVision. This movie had a protagonist problem.
Yeah. Brogu, you didn't miss much falling asleep. You probably did yourself a favor. And you probably were better off.
Right,
oh my
Brogu.
goodness.
Yeah, you're right. It just and that was like the issue, is that his motivations did not make sense. All they needed to do with his character was that he's struggling to make money, so he needs to take this crappy job for so he can get custody of his sister. And if he was like, okay, I'm going to take you with me.
And it would have been better too had he fallen asleep by accident. Yeah. He's with his sister, he's working, and he lays down, but he's exhausted and he falls asleep by accident. And then she gets mixed up with the Care Bear animatronics. But and yeah, that would have worked out a lot better, because at least then you could have, as an audience member, you could have some sympathy for Mike and be like, well, yeah, he's under a lot of stress. He's, this and this. But here, it's like he's directly putting his sister in harm's way multiple times throughout the movie because he's so obsessed with finding out what happened to his dead brother, and it makes no sense. It's just, it was such a, oh my God. And he was taking pills too on top of it. He was taking like heavy medication. That's what I'm saying. That's the last place he should have been working.
And yes, I just have to bring this up real quick because I need this optimism. ZSJL2 is inevitable. I hope you're right, Integrity. I hope you do. I hope, I'm going to say this. Whatever your stance is, whether you're on the cell camp, whether you're on the restore camp, whether you're on some mix of the camps, I think one thing we can all agree on, as much divide as there is support Rebel Moon. Where no matter where you are on watch Rebel Moon. That's all I'm gonna say. But we're having a great time, Integrity, ranting about Five Nights at Freddy's and what a shitty character Mike is. And I mean, the actor just didn't really impress me all that much. He didn't really.
He's another one that was like totally checked out the whole movie. And I mean, he should have been happy working with Vanessa. Vanessa was super cool. He should have been pretty upbeat, but he was he was a horrible, horrible character. He was horribly written, like we talked about from the get-go when he beat the hell out of that guy from the opening, of the film. It was like he's already unlikable. He's already established himself as a hothead who has no business having custody of a child.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the issue. Like so by the time we get to all the stuff we're talking about now, your view of the character's already tainted because it's such a waste. Like, I wanted him out. I wanted him gone, like, midway through. I wanted to see some really, really gory scene with one of the animatronics and Mike. I wanted to see Mike get stuck, get smashed, get turned into meatballs and smashed into the suit, into one of the suits. I was done with Mike after there was a point in the movie where I was just done with him. I was like, okay, it's time for you to go, Mike. You're not helping out here. This is not good. Your sister's gonna get killed. Vanessa's already injured. It's time for you to go.
Yeah.
Maybe
Exactly.
he can reunite with his brother then in the afterlife. It's just so if it matters that much to you and you're willing to put your baby sister in harm's way over this obsession, then yeah, you are a prime candidate to get killed. But clearly, since he's the main character of the video games, he's the player character of the first video game, they couldn't kill him off.
Yeah, well, he's only in the first game that I can recall. I don't know if he's actually I don't think he's in the other games, honestly. So they could have honestly killed him off in this movie, and it would have been fine.
I wish they would have done. Maybe we'll get lucky and he'll get killed off early in the second movie.
Yeah, that would actually be bad. I would love that, honestly. And the thing is, again, he was a much more likable character in the game, and you don't see, like, again, there's nothing about him in the game because you're playing as first person. There's nothing with him in
So
the
there's none
game.
of that plot with him and his baby sister.
Absolutely not. All you are is a knight. You have a phone speaker talking to you about a previous guy who worked on the job, telling you what you need to do. And then you just do it as the character. Like, essentially, you are the character. Like, you're first person, you're just a guard trying to make it through the night. And then when you win, you get fired after. Because the reason it's called Five Nights at Freddy's is because you have the job for 5 nights, and then you basically get fired afterwards, after the 5 nights. And the Czech's name, Mike Schmidt. That's it. That's the only
And so that was enough for them to garner that character for the first film. Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna use, here's the thing: if you're gonna give a character his name, you might as well just use the name of the character. Just write him better. I mean, all you needed to do was just have a guy trying to struggle, make ends meet, trying to get his sister, takes her to work because he has no choice, but she sleeps, he works. And as you said, if he accidentally falls asleep once, fine. I mean, I've worked the graveyard shift. It's not easy. I mean, and I was on my feet all the time, and it was hard to stay awake. I mean, I had to drink monster drinks, Mountain Dew, just to stay
That's
awake.
a good point. That's a good point that you just made, because in the other movie, that I was talking to you about, that's very close to this one in plot, Nicolas Cage's character in Willy's Wonderland drinks an energy drink. Okay. And it's called, I think it's called Punch. And it's basically like a caffeine punch to the face. It's really great. And he drinks it. He has a timer that goes off when he's cleaning up the place and fixing the place up. And then when the timer goes off, he can go have a drink. He can drink his energy drink and play the pinball machine. And that's what he does on his little breaks. And then he goes back to dealing with whatever's going on at Freddy's. But it's funny because that's what Mike needed. Mike needed a caffeine boost. He needed some kind of adrenaline shot or something, because he was just, I don't know if this is a guy that, yeah, he just needed some rest. Like I said, he needed to be in a coma, and it needed to be induced for a week because he just cannot function.
Yeah.
I'm
There's nothing likable about him other than being the main character. I think, and this is my criticism with the movie overall, is that they relied on the fan base recognizing, oh, it's Mike Schmidt, oh, it's Afton, oh, but we have see Balloon Boy right here. I mean,
yeah.
it was cool, but like again, you need to appeal to the general audience. I mean, again, I shouldn't. I mean, the movie did well. Maybe not. Maybe the key is making a badly written story for fan service. Maybe that is the key because that made money. That made money. So it seems like. Then again, Barbie also made money, and I didn't think that was a good movie either. Although I hate to say it, and I really hate to say the Zodwriter, Barbie was a better movie than this one. I
Oh,
hate saying that.
absolutely. I will agree with you there. Again, I don't I cannot argue with you, but also if you want to compare apples to apples, you compare Five Nights at Freddy's to Willy's Wonderland and you will see what I'm talking about. You can legitimately compare those two movies because they are literally built around the same concepts. You basically will look at Willy's Wonderland and say, okay, this is what Five Nights at Freddy's could have been if it was written a little better, was R-rated, and actually focused more on the animatronics than some of these lame characters. Because these characters are mostly supposed to be, the truth is, they're mostly supposed to be fodder for the animatronics. That's what they're supposed to be. It's not supposed to be all this complicated nonsense that we get. We get this whole family drama with Mike Schmidt that is so overbearing that it takes over the entire plot of the movie. And then at the end, none of it matters. It's like, what? I don't even remember. At the end, what was the resolution with the brother? I don't even remember. I don't even think it was resolved. It was
his aunt's dead, so no one's fighting for custody anymore. I think somehow the girl's just better because they say when she's at the school or whatever, the teacher's like, whatever you're doing, Mike, keep doing it.
Yeah,
so
keep doing it, Mike. Now you're a hero. Just don't beat anybody up anymore, and you can keep your custody.
Which no one calls him out. Like it's like not even a question that he should lose custody for beating up someone. Like, really, he beat up someone, and he
didn't just beat the guy up. He massacred that guy. And that guy was totally innocent and totally within his right. Mike had no business doing what he did. But hey, we'll just let that go, fall under the cracks, just like the aunt when she died. Like her character was completely meaningless too. We're assuming she died.
I just don't think she's an important enough character for them to be like, oh well, we didn't technically see it. Let's bring her back. I just think she's way too.
It just irritates me because she was important enough to have that whole stupid subplot about her trying to get rid of Mike somehow to get custody for Abby for no reason. Like it didn't. None of it made any sense, and they all, the whole point of them all going there, like you said, in the middle of the daytime, breaking in there, and it's like, what are you doing? Like it's just as soon as he goes home, you go there and you break into the place and steal whatever you can, but trash the place so that he'll get fired. It's a crappy job. It's not like he was working at a law firm and he's a doctor or he has some sort of it's some crappy security job that he's working. And it's not like he wants to be there. He doesn't want that job. He's just doing it because he needs money.
Here's the thing too with this plan. What if he didn't accidentally forget to unlock the door? What if they just found something? What if they just picked a lock or something? Here's my thing. If he does everything correctly and they come in after his hours, he's not at fault. There's no way he would be at fault for what happened.
That's what I was saying. He wasn't at fault anyway. And when it all went down, he was already gone. And yeah,
He technically forgot to lock the door, is what Vanessa said. That's why he was at fault. He just happened to forget to lock one of the doors, which is how they got in. But
which is believable because he's big. Which is believable because he's perpetually tired. So he's gonna, he's not all there anyway. So you could imagine he's gonna make some mistakes. So yeah.
She couldn't have known that. They couldn't have known that was going to happen. It's like a little bit of a spoiler alert from I'm going to talk about when I eventually do the Captain America Civil War review with Socks, is that one issue I had is that Zemo's plan, he couldn't have known that was going to happen. He just got lucky that it happened. So that's kind of the thing. So overall, this movie had a protagonist problem. I like that they used the name Mike Schmidt. I liked elements of what they were trying to do. All they need to do. He's trying to fight for his baby sister, needs money. That's all they needed. That's literally the Lilo and Stitch storyline, at least not necessarily an alien crashing down and adopting him, but like just that simple storyline. And then he works at Five Nights at Freddy's. All they needed. All they needed. So there was one thing I did like about this movie, though. It was the final battle. And here's the thing about that. The thing with the final battle is that a lot of times you don't really even need good acting in it. If there's good action in it, decent suspense, that's all you need. So that's why even though Mike wasn't the best character, the only time Mike redeemed himself when he said, "I'm sorry, Abby, for being an idiot." At least he realized it eventually. But I did like the fight. I was on the edge of my seat during that time because I cared about Abby. I cared about Vanessa. And the way that he took the animatronics down made sense. That makes sense to me. A taser temporarily takes them down. And he was smart. This is Mike's smartest scene, was when he used water to electrocute both of them at once. This was Mike's smartest scene in the entire movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and my thing was I still wanted Mike to get taken out. That's what I was hoping for in the final battle. I liked what he did, but I still wanted him to get taken out at the end. I was like, just take out Mike and it'll all be good. Because for some reason I kept thinking the end was going to be Abby and Vanessa walking off at the end. I did not expect Mike to survive.
Would have been a better, honestly, between the two, I would have picked Vanessa surviving, but
it looks like she did. She survived, but she was just in rough shape.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean,
but Mike needed that coma more than Vanessa did.
Yeah, yes.
To be honest, Mike needed the sleep.
Yeah, Mike definitely needed, and maybe Vanessa would have been a great guardian for Abby. He definitely would have been. And the thing is, here's the thing with the final battle. It's what I wanted to see in the movie. Is I wanted to see action. I want to see the animatronics be the threat that they're supposed to be. The problem is it took way too long to get here. Here's the thing. If you were to put all the good parts of this movie, you could have had the opening scene, the part where the guys break in, and just take out the part where it's obviously daytime, and the final fight. If you just had those like scenes in the movie, it would have been a good movie. It would have been a short movie, but I had no issues
short film, which would have been awesome. It would have had better pacing.
Yeah, much better pacing. And actually, we'll definitely get into the pacing topic very soon. But the thing is, the final fight was the best part of this movie. Even though Afton was a bit of a letdown at the end, and the way he was defeated was, it was obvious they needed a quick way for them to defeat the villain. But overall, at least I was entertained at this point. So, do you have any final thoughts about the final battle?
No, I'm with you. I think the final battle was pretty cool, but I just, like I said, I was hoping that it would have went a different way and it would have been Mike in the hospital and not Vanessa.
And so before we get to the pacing though of this movie, there's one criticism I have: the music. Again, since I'm enough of a fan, unless they played it during the credits, because I didn't say I watched the mid credit scene, but I didn't watch any because I read there was no post credit stuff. But there's a big theme that's played throughout Five Nights at Freddy's. Da 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 da. It's like a creepy version of it. This is like the game over thing? Like when the power goes out and you see Freddy right there, that plays. We didn't like this is a theme that's commonly associated with Five Nights at Freddy's.
That wasn't in the movie at all.
I don't recall seeing it, hearing it in the movie, and if it's in the movie and I don't recall it,
I'm vaguely remembering it. I don't. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. I don't.
maybe they put it in the credits, and in this case, we shouldn't have waited till the credits to hear it.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Because I thought I even heard it in the trailers. The thing
I'd have to go back. I'd probably have to go back and rewatch it for that because I didn't really pay it too much attention to the music.
And I had to bring this up because this was an issue I had with the movie. Even like how like sometimes you see a movie, you don't think it's that bad, but there's still some issue like until you really think about it more. But there's still one or two issues that still get you right away. This was one of them to me. Was the music, because I'm a big music guy, and I know and like Five Nights at Freddy's has a lot of great music they could have used, and they used none of it.
Okay.
Music carries the story, so.
But you know what movie did have some good music in it? Willy's Wonderland had some great music in it.
Oh, I definitely will have to check that out because I need something that's better than this. That's way better.
It definitely is. It's way better. It's way better.
And this one, and if you're talking about Killer Bear movies too, this one is definitely better. Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, except Winnie the Pooh's not animatronic, though.
No.
Although I think he should be. I think he should be. I think that would have been cool for Blood and Honey if Winnie the Pooh was animatronic. If they used him from like a Disney from like an old Disney amusement park that was shut down, and he's an animatronic.
Well, so Disney's version of Winnie the Pooh is still public domain, or is not public domain. Disney owns their version of Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah,
so they couldn't reference Winnie the Pooh as a Disney character at all because that would have made him the Disney version and not the original 1927 version. But I don't know, that movie about that still sounds better than what we got. So again, not much to say, but we didn't get a lot of music. But what really kills the movie is the overall pacing. So I understand you needed to do it in multiple nights. It's called Five Nights at Freddy's. And the reason it's Five Nights at Freddy's is because you play 5 nights. And you have to survive for 5 nights. But the problem is you have 15 minutes of great stuff and you have an hour and 5 minutes of less stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. There was so much, as we've talked about, there's so much in the movie that didn't need to be there or could have been executed better or could have just outright been completely cut from the movie and replaced with something else that it's to the detriment of the movie. But like you said, the pacing isn't bothering people because it's making money. I mean, it's doing well. So I don't know. Yeah. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe it's just us. But I agree. I think the pacing was all over the place. And there's no excuse for it. This whole movie could have been laid out better. And I also think the movie needed a better editor too, because I think there were a lot of scenes in this movie that could have been cut, shortened, and tightened up quite a bit to make the movie a little better. There's things they could do. It could definitely benefit from a recut.
Oh yeah,
the director talking about not wanting to that there's not going to be no director's cut doesn't do her any favors, because I think that the movie definitely needs and could benefit from a recut and making the kill scenes a little bit longer, and cutting out some of the BS that we don't really need. some of the nonsensical stuff.
I mean, to be fair, David Ayer also said there was not another cut of Suicide Squad, so the director could just be towing the company line. But then again, Andy Muschietti also is not pretending there's not a director's cut of the Flash movie, which I think we both would love to see.
Yes,
Release the Muschietti cut, or
absolutely.
put it as part of Cell. Because to me, I'll say this, I don't want to get too off tangent here, but to me, the only reason I don't consider the Flash Snyderverse canon is because I think Muschietti's cut of the movie is what's the Snyderverse canon of that film. It's his director's cut. But at least, again, whatever issues anyone has had with the Flash, at least there's a director's cut that could potentially fix a lot of the issues, unlike this one. Because to me, you can't just cut stuff. You have to add a lot of stuff too. Like, to me, if you were to do another cut, you would have to call in all the actors to come back and add scenes to it. Because, I'm just gonna go to this right now. What the movie should have been. So the game, you're Mike Schmidt, but you don't really know you're Mike Schmidt, just some random guard. Honestly, the Mike Schmidt's more of just a name they had. But you're a guard, you're in there, you hear a voice recording of a guy going through all the nights training you, and on the fourth night, you hear the recording, and the guy who's training you via the recording gets killed. But here's the thing. This is what they could have kept from the movie. Mike has a sister. He needs to make money to keep her. He has to take her to Five Nights at Freddy's because he doesn't have a babysitter, but he's going to work. He is going to work. She is not. The movie should have taken place primarily at Freddy's, and he's trying to survive. Because in the game, what you need to do is you need to conserve power and close the doors, but only when needed so you don't waste power. That's what this movie could have and should have been. I know it's a low budget, but here's the thing. Jaws did this tactic. You could have just not seen the animatronics most of the time because not only does it save money, but it also kind of adds to that fear, that horror element when you don't see the threat, when you don't know what it looks like, when it has to be your imagination. So they could have certain points where Mike has to go out, look for his sister, but maybe he sees an animatronic walking by and he hides under the table and you see the legs walk by. Maybe there's a certain point where he puts a Freddy mask on and the animatronic's looking at him and just kind of walks away. Or Foxy comes and he uses the flashlight because Foxy doesn't like the flashlight. But the whole point is, and maybe the first night goes smoothly. See, the only thing though with the kid, though, I can't buy him taking his sister back over and over again. It could have just been one night. Maybe the title would have been wrong, but he is trying to survive a night there, not get caught by the animatronics, make sure his sister's okay. Or maybe, he survives the first night just out of luck, so he doesn't realize something's wrong, and eventually he takes his sister before realizing the threat is bad. But the whole point is, he's at Freddy's. The animatronics are the focus. He does not get to see them. Not once. He does not get to look at them. He does not get to stand out there. He does not build forts with them. They do not get to go near Mike at all. They don't see him unless they happen to see him through the window and the door's blocking their way to get him. That's what you see. But there is no other subplot. There is no he's around them. The focus is just him surviving the nights at Freddy's. That's the focus. That's the focus. Nothing else. He's not trying to worry about finding his brother. And a lot of these subplots, here's the thing with Five Nights at Freddy's. The whole children's subplot, that's barely even brought up in the first game. That's brought up into later games. So they could have saved a lot of stuff for the sequels as the general audience gets used to the lore.
Yeah, well, the director, I feel like she kind of just inserted her own little subplots that she liked because she's co-writer on it too. Emma Tammy's her name. She kind of looks a little bit like the Barbie director. She looks very similar to Greta Gerwig, who directed Barbie. She's very similar looking movie director, and she co-wrote this film. So
you need to do an AI of her for your show. You gotta do an AI of her. Do an AI of her and do an AI Mike. I want to see an AI Mike too.
An AI Mike from the movie.
Yeah. Say like, something about like him not doing his job. It's like, enjoy it. I'm going to go to sleep and find my brother and
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like I'll just let the animatronics babysitter though while I
Five.
go to sleep.
Well, the movie actually should have been called Five Snores at Freddy's because honestly, it was definitely exhausting.
It was. And it just needed a very simple plot. Just survive the night at Freddy's. That's all they needed. And if if it's not really Five Nights, they just have to call it Five Nights for brand familiarity. Fine. Absolutely fine. As long as the movie's entertaining. But it it was because it was Five Snores at Freddy's, because there was more daytime in that movie than nighttime in that movie. And again, you don't see the and again, if they could have saved money, they could have saved a lot of. In fact, actually, my idea would have saved the money because you wouldn't have all these supporting characters. You honestly don't need that many. You just need Mike. You can have a sister. Keep a sister. I'm fine with that. Maybe even like the beginning part, just showing a day in the life real quickly, not just to get the idea of it,
And you
and then a
didn't need
voice
to
for
and you
people.
didn't need to have Mike beat the hell out of the dude in the mall either. That was unnecessary completely.
Sin, are you talking about like the bonus sixth and seventh night? Yeah, there is something like that, and maybe it was the seventh night where he gets fired. It's 5 nights, and there's like 2 bonus nights that you can play. But is that what you're talking about, Sin? Let me know. But
Five Snores at Freddy's. Yes.
it, and again, as someone who's a somewhat, again, I'm not like a hardcore fan,
You sound like a hardcore
but
fan. I got to be honest with
compared,
you.
well,
Compared to me,
so
you definitely are.
so my stepdad said something that you only need to know 10% more to seem like an expert. That's why I seem like a fan to you, is because I know at least 10% more than you.
Oh,
But
for
I'm telling
sure.
you, there are some fans out there, trust me. They'll say I'm not a fan at all. It'd be like, put like this: the people who claim to be DC. Oh no, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't go there. Oh fine, I'm just gonna say it. The people who claim to be DC fans but say that Henry Cavill's a bad Superman. To the average person, they may seem like big DC fans, but to us, we're like, did you know that Superman does this too, and this and this? So, oh, you're
That's a
talking about
good
the
point.
days of the week. Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, that makes more again, since that's actually those 2 nights are actually a thing, that's why I asked. But just again, but it needed a very simple plot. Just survive the night. That's it. Nothing else. And instead we deal with all this bullshit. But so overall, it's funny. I was gonna rate this movie a lot higher, but after talking about it with you,
Yeah, I'm kind of mad now. I kind of feel disappointed, and this makes me want to go play the games. I might get buy the games in VR and play the games, and they'll be really scary because I'll be in VR. But I really, yeah, after talking to you, I'm very happy that I watched Willy's Wonderland today because Five Nights at Freddy's is a colossal disappointment. Holy cow.
it was. It really was. And I'll let you go first. What would you give this movie?
Out of 10 or out of
Yeah, out of
5?
10. Out of 10.
Okay, out of 10 I guess I'll give it a 5.
I'll give it around. You know what's funny? I hate that making that I gave WandaVision a higher rating, but I have to say WandaVision had better writing, so I give this movie I'm gonna give it a 5.5128938 out of 10. Not a great movie at all. There are some few elements I liked in this movie, but overall, it was not a great story. It was a messy story. They overcomplicated what could have just been a very simple story.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I mean, in all honesty, I liked it more before I actually thought about it, before I actually delved into it and broke it down. I liked it more after I seen it, and then it's like, God, Forget this movie. It's trash. I am excited that they're going to do another one though. In spite of this being such a letdown, because maybe the sequel will have a different director, maybe the sequel will have other elements and it will be better. Who knows?
And maybe, it could be what they call a standalone sequel, where it's a sequel, but you don't really need to see the first one. Just have all you need to do is just have a
Maybe
guy just try to survive at Freddy's.
Mike won't be in it.
I'd be fine with that.
That'd be great.
Or maybe it'll be Abby. Maybe because Mike did something stupid to make himself lose custody of Abby, and maybe because they forgot that there was a dead body in his house, and maybe Abby's living with a foster family, and I don't know, just
and
anything better than
one
this.
of the animatronics comes to the foster family's house.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is that analysis makes the movie worse. Is that when you turn your brain off, well, see, here's the problem. Even if you turn your brain off, there's too many boring parts. Like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Let's be honest, there's a lot of plot holes and some story elements that don't quite work. But here's the thing. At least with that movie, you can turn your brain off and have a good time.
It was
Whereas this one,
entertaining. The gore and the violence level in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is exquisite. You're watching a movie of complete. It's a bloody masterpiece compared to Five Nights at Freddy's.
oh yeah. I mean, I honestly regret ranking Winnie the Pooh as low as I did. I mean, I gave it like a 7 in the sevens, but honestly, after talking about this movie, I'd give Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey at least an 8 at this point.
Right. It's at least an 8 compared to this, and Willy's Wonderland is a straight up 9.5 compared to this. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's just, yeah. It's not even close.
It wasn't. And honestly, the movie that I was in, the director put a lot more effort into that movie and a lot more heart. And the actors, even the extras who did not have big roles that maybe some people didn't even notice where it was in the movie, even those actors did a much better job. And yeah, here's the thing. I have hopes for the sequel. I think, again, this is a franchise that can be a really good movie. Just that this one wasn't. That's it. I mean, like, it'd be like me saying that we can't have another good Batman movie after Batman and Robin. No, we absolutely can't have another good Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Just need
some changes at the top.
Changes at the top. And don't be afraid to make it rated R. Joker.
Well, that's the problem, right? You gotta, pandering to the, going into the Pandaverse and coddling that PG-13 demographic because you want, to maximize audiences. So I understand why they do it, but there should be, if they're going to do that, then there should be 2 cuts. There should be an R-rated cut and there should be a PG-13 cut, especially with horror movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
These PG-13 horror movies, it's ridiculous. It's like, come on. And it's like you said, you should never make a movie for a certain rating. You make the movie what it is, and whatever the rating it gets, that's its identity right there. There's no need for trying to tailor it towards a certain demographic, because lots of adults play the Five Nights at Freddy's games. And aren't the Five Nights at Freddy's games mature rated games anyway?
Yeah, I think so. I know Security Breach definitely was. I'm very confident Security Breach was definitely rated M. So. And just the thing with the games is that there's less effort because you're not going to the theater. It's what the late great Mikey Sun said with streaming, is that because you're doing it at home, there's less of an effort. So stuff like our ratings are less of a concern than the theater. So I'm sure we know AI is happening. Trust me.
Oh yeah. I'm all
scared of it.
steeped in that. Yeah. AI is coming for all of us. Amen.
Well, I do know that AI is not good at certain things yet, so I'll just say that. Zodwriter, you know what I'm talking about, but nothing I'm going to say publicly on stream.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so again, at the end of the day, just could have been so much better. As someone who is enough of a fan of the franchise, this could have been a much better movie. And honestly, watching Markiplier play the games, like honestly, if you don't want to play the games, just go to Markiplier's channel and watch him play Five Nights at Freddy's. It is so entertaining. So, like, again, links in the channel because he's the reason I'm at all a fan of this franchise because I've never played the games. Just watch him play, and he does a really good job. He puts a lot of emotion, and if he played Mike Schmidt, it would have been a much better movie. So, anyway, I guess now it's time to roll out the red carpet. What do you have coming up on your channel, Zodwriter?
Well, coming up this Friday night, APAS and I got a brand new episode of I Don't Get It. So I'm looking forward to that. That should be good. That should be great. Haven't had one of those in a while, so it'll be nice to come back and put out another good episode.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that one. I'll probably be a little late for that one because I need to get back into working out, and that's one of my workout days until I change that. But I'll definitely catch it, though. I'll definitely catch it because I love that show. I love you and APAS have some of the best chemistry on YouTube out there, honestly. Is that
I
YouTube
appreciate that.
click.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I love it so much.
So I can't wait to see the next one. And I appreciate you advertising my movie on there. Like, so, or I guess not my movie, but the movie I'm in.
The movie you're in, yes.
Which again, not many people in Still Nation can say. So check it out, guys. Are They Dead Yet? Check that out. Eventually, I'm gonna do a watch party, and I'll definitely want Zodwriter there for sure, and we'll try to get some other people for that. So we'll let you know when that comes out. But be on the lookout for the Are They Dead Yet watch party. And Sox and I are going to be reviewing Miss Marvel for Marvelous Discussions on Sunday. Where
awesome.
And apparently that one's good. Sox likes that one, and he didn't like WandaVision. So hopefully this is good because we're reviewing the projects to get ready for the Marvels, which I don't think will be good, but we got to talk about it anyways. And I'm going to try to do some content to get ready for Aquaman before Christmas starts, because once Christmas starts, it's Christmas coverage on my channel. So...
Christmas coverage? Yeah. What do you mean?
Oh, it's like on my channel. Like last year, I was doing all these Christmas topics. So
okay. Okay, cool.
So, I mean, I'll make some exceptions. Like when Rebel Moon happens, I'll definitely talk that. But let's just say there's some fun Christmas surprises coming up for my channel. So, yeah, well, Qatar, catch it on replay. And definitely, because this was a really fun discussion. And Zodwriter, I really enjoyed having you on. This was a really great show, and we had a lot to say. And the thing is, even if a movie's bad, in fact, honestly, if a movie's bad, sometimes it's more fun to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. And this was definitely pretty bad. So thank you very much for having me, Bat Dan. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to come on and chat with you about this kind of stuff.
And it's always a pleasure to have you on my channel. I love our discussions. And guys, if you want more great discussions like this, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss another episode and get more unique takes and interesting thoughts. It's Halloween still for about another 2 hours, our time. But still, watch a scary movie. Scarier than this one, though. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah, yes, definitely. Or the Banana Splits movie. If you haven't seen that, that's another good one.
Anything that's actually scary. Lots of good scary. In fact, Nightmare Before Christmas, 30th anniversary. Even though some argue that's a Christmas movie. I had that debate on my channel. But anyways, guys, enjoy your Halloween. In fact, have a bat-tastic Halloween.